Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. We're just going to wait another minute or two for people to hop on. If you want to turn on your camera, go for it. We're hoping to have this pretty informal, just kind of chat and discussion and learn what's good and what we need to work on. So thanks again for hopping on. So while you're getting on, if you can mute yourself, that would be awesome. We'll get started in a minute or two here. All right.
What do you think? Can we go ahead and get started?
Yeah. I think the waiting room doesn't look, we got one more. I'm just trying to let Grace in right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking pretty good. Yeah, let's try to give it one more minute, then we'll get going, Ryan. Sorry. All right, I think we got everybody, so I'll pass it over to Ryan and we'll get this started. You're on mute, Ryan.
I'm sorry.
Here we go.
Sorry. I just was saying thank you for joining us today. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ryan Baker. I am the former president and co-founder of Wheelchair Lacrosse USA. Started back in 2009, and here we are 11 years later. My co-founder, Bill, who most of you probably know, is also on the call. And we're just really excited to share, I guess, what we have coming up and a little bit about what we've had to deal with, what everyone, I guess, has had to deal with this year with regards to COVID. We have a newly elected president. His name's Brian Galloway. He's out of Indianapolis. And we have a new vice president, Michael Looney out of Baltimore, who represents the Maryland Thunder program. And I'm going to pass it off to, I just wanted to thank you guys for letting me introduce this. And then I was going to pass it off to Brian to do a board introduction. So you guys can meet or get introduced to the new board that we have acting right now. So thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. So as you mentioned, my name is Brian Galloway. I am with Indy Rip Lacrosse. We started in 2015, and so we have been competing in every tournament that we possibly can since then. So obviously it's been a great experience. I met Ryan and Bill actually in Louisville for just at a clinic, and was excited to get started. Been building since then. We elected a new board, we elected a board in 2018 and kind of readjusted our executive committee after that, but pretty much most of us have been on the board since 2018. So Mike Looney, as I mentioned, is our vice president. So I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Mike Looney, newly elected vice president for Wheelchair Lacrosse USA. I am the player, coach, captain, team moderator for the Maryland Thunder. I've been playing wheelchair lacrosse since around 2012, 2013. We started off just doing some clinics locally here, and I actually did probably the first ever, I guess, tournament for wheelchair lacrosse at the Ocean City Lacrosse Classic against San Diego. Yes, I am, we are the 2019 Wheelchair Lacrosse USA National Champions, so I have to at least, put that out there. But thank you all for joining us. I got a nice little ring for it, too.
All right, and as Ryan mentioned, Bill Lundstrom obviously is been with Wheelchair Lacrosse since the beginning, and he is our secretary. So, our treasurer. Pardon me. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, apparently I have multiple hats, I guess. But co-founder with Ryan Baker, team captain of the San Diego team. Just been very exciting. Happy to be part of this organization from the beginning. This new board has been instrumental to the growth of what we're doing. We couldn't be doing and growing. We couldn't be where we're at without this active board. So it's been really fun. It's a nice change, and excited to keep moving. And I'm going to pass this down to Barry, our secretary.
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Barry Weintraub. I've been on the board for 2 years, the executive board for 2 years now, as the secretary. Been a part of the board for about 3 years. I'm with the Minnesota North Stars. We started similar to Brian and the Indy Rip in 15, but we did not start competing until 2017. And even at that point, we were at a limited capacity. But the goal was obviously to, in the future, strive to be at a greater capacity of competition. We then moved to nationals, competing in nationals in 18 and 19. And yeah, I mean, this is a great setup. This was the first time I've been a part of something like this, and I'm glad to have the turnout that we had, and hope to see some of you guys in the future at competition. So I'm going to hand it back to Brian, and we'll move forward.
All right, thanks, Barry. And so now I'll just go ahead and introduce one by one our at-large members. So I'll just start with Eric Rudolph.
Hello, this is Eric Rudolph. I started playing lacrosse in 3rd grade in Baltimore, and played through high school, college, club for a number of years, was coach for the team for a while. And then I got involved with U.S. Lacrosse. I was on the training and then the rules committee. And I got involved with wheelchair lacrosse when Bill came to me and asked if we could help redo the wheelchair lacrosse rules. And so I had another guy on the lacrosse rules committee, did that, and we worked with Barry 2 years ago on that, and we're coming up with another version pretty soon. But I've been involved with rules for quite a while, and enjoy working with wheelchair lacrosse.
Thanks, Eric. And now I'll move it on to another at-large member, Ken Lee with Milwaukee.
Hi guys, this is Ken Lee. I represent the Milwaukee Eagles. Been part of the board since it's started 3-4 years ago. It's been a great ride, and I want to keep going with this ride. Great bunch of people to work with as well. Hopefully some of you will become a board member someday.
Thanks, Ken. Moving on, also introduce Norm Page with the Buffalo Bandits.
Yeah, Norm, you might have your.
Maybe Norm's on mute.
Yep.
There we go. Okay, we're good. There we go.
Good.
Sorry,
Yep.
guys.
Go ahead, Norm.
Norm Page from Buffalo Bandits. We're sponsored by the Buffalo Bandits indoor lacrosse program here in Buffalo. Been around since 2016. We've continued to grow. One of our things that we're really working on here in Buffalo is to help build some regional with working with Worcester, Ohio, and Rochester, Watertown, which I believe Mark McKenna's online today, and maybe over into Syracuse. But our goal is to help build some more regional programs and strengthen this region and really build wheelchair lacrosse. So thank you all for joining tonight.
Thanks, Norm. Go ahead and move on to Clint Carter. Clint, you're on mute.
Yep, got to
There you go.
unmute myself. Hi, Clint Carter with Brian. I'm with Indy Rip, currently serving as the coach for that team. Joined about 3 years ago. I've been officiating for, field lacrosse for about 20 years now. Prior to that, I played for about 10 years. Said this many times before. I've been in this sport for 30 years, and the last 3 years with Indy Rip, this is the most fun I've ever had.
All right. Love to hear it. Thank you, Clint. All right, move on to Sean Maloney.
Hey everyone, my name is Sean, obviously. I play with the Colorado Rolling Mammoth out here in Denver. I'm also happy to be on the board of Wheelchair Lacrosse. I work full-time for US Lacrosse. I got a couple of our colleagues on here. Shout out to Bryce and Donovan, who have been, big supporters of us. And so I'm happy to kind of help be that, liaison or connector between Wheelchair Lacrosse and the folks over at US Lacrosse. So yeah, I had a spinal cord injury in 2015. I've played lacrosse my whole life, but only been playing the wheelchair game for about 1.5 years. And yeah, I'll agree with Clint. I'm having a blast so far. So yeah, thanks for joining us. A couple quick housekeeping notes. If you have any questions along the way, you can use that chat button down at the bottom. And we'll kind of collect questions as we go. We've only got a couple agenda items to cover, and then we really just want to hear from you all. So it's not just us talking at you. We want to have more of a discussion. So sit tight, and we'll get to that.
Did I hit everybody? Did I miss anybody on the board? I think I got everybody.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, we're good. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on.
All right, guys. So first of all, again, I want to thank you guys for being on here. This is going to be kind of a two-part little speech on, the current season. We understand that it's been an unfortunate year with COVID. I know that Looney would love to only have 1 year to brag about his championship, but we're going to give him 2. And we've, as far as I am aware, not all teams are even practicing yet. That includes my own. But we also know that there are teams that are practicing. So we want to just, be clear that we are following very closely on the state and local guidelines, and we want you guys to follow that. And then for the teams that are affiliated with hospital systems like myself, I know that San Diego is also affiliated with Sharp, and Looney's affiliated with a hospital system out in Baltimore. We want to make sure that you guys are following the rules and guidelines set forth by those hospital systems. Mary Free Bed in Grand Rapids, so again, just be cautious, maintain a proper line of communication with your advisors, your team managers. And before I hand this over here, I want you to know that we have resources available on the WLUSA website. And just know that we are working on establishing proper protocol for return to play for tournaments, but we have not officially come to any decisions yet. And that's where I'm going to hand it over to Ken Lee from Milwaukee, as he has a pretty strong expertise in this field and has a nice insight on it. So, Ken, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks. And Barry, step in with additional information as well. All right, folks. The bottom line is really to protect yourselves. Most of the athletes in our programs are what's considered high and vulnerable populations. So for all of you guys, you must take extra precautions. Just an example, in the hospital system, the long-term care, the elderly population and disabled population, as well as the spinal cord injury units are considered high-risk populations. So besides having extra precautions within the hospital itself, both long-term care and the spinal cord injury center gets additional pre-checks before anyone could come in. Some of the places have a little more opening for seeing patients, or a little more opportunity for visitors to come in and stuff. But in spinal cord injury and long-term care, they're very restrictive. That's how serious they are when it comes to the COVID. Now, one of the main reasons for this for all of you is it's not about, actually, sorry, I don't want to say that. It is about individual health. It's about you getting sick and surviving it, all right? But it's also, it spreads really quick among this population. So in order to protect your colleagues, your friends, and your fellow athletes, you must take all the precautions there is. Now, in terms of return to play or practice, U.S. Lacrosse actually has put out a very good guideline, which is on our Wheelchair Lacrosse USA website as well. So you can download it from there and take a look at that as well. And it's a good one to follow. Now, it is important for you to take that guideline and also follow, compare it with your local guideline and your sponsors guidelines, and kind of put it together. Don't go rogue just because US Lacrosse said to do this, right? You need to conform with your local rules as well. Barry, anything else to add?
No, I think you hit on it pretty well, Ken. And, I think if anyone has any questions about that, please email the board at info@wheelchairlacrosse.com. We can figure that out. We can work together with Ken to establish the appropriate return to play guidelines as we start to figure them out for a national organization. I also just saw that Sean posted the return to play guidelines in the chat for everybody. So for those that are not on the board and don't have a direct connection to the board, please see that link in the chat. And then just so moving forward, I wanted to update, we wanted to update all the teams about some decisions the board has made moving forward. One of the big decisions we made was a partnership with Pearl lacrosse balls. We decided to do this because Pearl is producing a standardized no bounce ball at the moment. For those that have been involved in lacrosse for many years, there used to be a brownish color no bounce ball that existed many years ago that have become increasingly more difficult to find. And because of that, and with the concept of trying to create a better set of play for tournaments, we decided to partner with Pearl, and we'll be using blue no bounce balls for all tournaments. With that being said, we know that balls can be expensive, and especially no bounce balls. We do have a discount code through Pearl, which is 20% off the no bounce balls. The code is capitalized WUSL. And again, if you have any questions about that, please reach out to us. We want to make sure that you guys are using the proper balls in practice, as well as if you decide to host a tournament, you have access to those balls. And again, the concept there is that, when we have tournament play, we're playing games, we're using brand new Pearl balls. And again, I know that one of their big things is the balls don't scuff out, they don't die and become quote unquote greased. So we're hoping that one set of balls should last a pretty long time. Again, just let us know if you have any questions about that. And with that being said, I'm going to pass it off to Sean.
Thanks, Barry. Yeah, and those pro balls are awesome too. I don't know if you've used them before, but the brown ones used to get super slick, super quick. These things definitely cost a little bit more, but actually with a discount code, it's the same price, and they'll definitely last longer. So I just have a quick update from the U.S. lacrosse front, just give you an update on some things that we're working on. We've been connected with some of the rules folks at USL, and we're working on making sure that the wheelchair lacrosse rules align fully with U.S. lacrosse guidelines in terms of safety. We've had a few meetings. There's no issues so far. So Eric is kind of leading the charge on just cleaning up our rule set. And then we're going to get them published onto the U.S. lacrosse website. And we're hoping that that'll just help us, just have a little extra exposure for the game of wheelchair lacrosse. So if somebody's looking for the rule set, they'll be able to find it on our website as well as on the U.S. lacrosse website. In terms of membership in U.S. lacrosse is required to play in the national tournament. The main reason for that is they supply us with insurance. And so if you have any questions or concerns about that, I'm always available to chat. I'll put my email in the chat when I'm done with this. But we also know that some groups, if you're affiliated with a rehabilitation hospital or an adaptive sports center, I just encourage you to make sure that your wheelchair lacrosse team is covered under their insurance policy. That's a question that you need to ask just to protect yourself. And if it's not, the easiest way to get it is to just require everybody to be a member of U.S. lacrosse. If you're not aware, I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here to a lot of you, but if you're not aware, U.S. lacrosse, as a member of U.S. lacrosse, you get, personal injury insurance. So if you get hurt playing wheelchair lacrosse, you go through your primary care. If you still have bills, you can submit them to U.S. lacrosse and they'll reimburse you. So for $55 a year for an adult, it's a pretty good deal. We also have a discount code with U.S. lacrosse that gives us $20 off. So it's actually only $35 per adult. That discount code isn't working right now just because we're upgrading some websites, some web tools. But again, I'll put my chat in here, and if you want to take advantage of that, please let me know, and we can work together to get that done. Another benefit of that is there are grants available. I've seen a couple wheelchair lacrosse programs apply for and receive grants as members of USL. The only other update I have from a rules perspective is keep in mind January 1st, 2021, there is a rule update for goalie chest protectors specifically. Commotio cordis, where it says Dr. Lee could probably talk more about it than me. But it's a really serious issue. And so, we want to protect all our athletes, especially those goalies. We are encouraging everybody to get those new chest protectors that have this commotio cordis guard that protects your heart, from that sudden impact trauma that can happen in lacrosse. So that's a new requirement for all goalies heading into 2021. And in 2022, that's actually going to be a requirement from U.S. lacrosse for all players as well. So it's just something to kind of get on your horizon. You may need to spend a few bucks to upgrade your shoulder pads and your goalie chest protectors. Again, any questions about that, I'm going to leave my email here. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime. And that's all I got. So I'll hand it over to Ryan and Bill for update on 2021.
All right. Yeah. So everything's moving forward for nationals. Same time next year as we were anticipating it being this year. I think we're a little ahead of the game now, which is good. We can, make sure that those dates are secure. I think this year we were anticipating 12 teams, I believe. We were at 12. And we do have 2 rinks that will be outside with a giant, like it's a covered outdoor facility. So if any of you played or remember being in Buffalo, it's very similar to that. It is a sport court surface. They are like full regulation size, so very similar to like the size in Milwaukee. It's a large space. We're going to have some vendors. The tournament hotel will be the Rancho Bernardo Inn. And then there will be peripheral accommodation sites in the area. And then we'll have the registration out within the first few months of 2021 so we can get a solid team count. And we'd like a really good understanding. You know, some teams or players might elect to do like a Airbnb thing or something like that. That's fine. But yeah, everything, we're really looking forward to putting it together, and hopefully we can see at least 12 teams, maybe more, by the time it rolls around next year. If there are any questions about the tournament, you could send them via chat to Mike Looney. We can talk about that if there are any specific questions regarding nationals. But everyone can anticipate using the new ball. The rules should be updated, and all the players should be well acquainted with the rules. So during play, there's efficient game time. Everybody's moving on and off the floors, and we're not wasting any time. We anticipate it being 2 days. If we happen to get like another surge or like an influx of teams, which I think might be unlikely, just due to the pandemic and teams, you know, traveling, there might be some individuals that might not be ready or want to travel yet. We don't really know, obviously. But we're not opposed to having a 3-day tournament if we have enough teams that would require that kind of time. We have the facilities available to us, and again, we're just really looking forward to hosting it there in Southern California. Bill, I don't know if you have anything to add or if anyone has questions about that, so we can touch on it. But yeah, that's all I got.
I think that's about, you nailed it all.
Paul just has a quick question about the face shields, the clear plastic face shields that Cascade is putting out. Has anybody used those that feels like they want to give their opinion? I mean, I've talked to a few people that have told me they kind of fog up quickly. We're not requiring them from a U.S. lacrosse perspective, but does anybody have experience with those?
Yeah, I'm requiring my Fogos to wear them during practice. You are right, though. They do fog up. So what I did is I cut the very top of it down to the first bar because you're not going to tilt your helmet down that far. And I found that it helps a little bit with the fog. But I'm in the deep south, so everything fogs up pretty easily.
Yeah, gotcha.
But it does beat having to wear a face mask under your helmet, because that has been a continuous complaint is guys being like, I can't breathe with this on.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think we would, mirror the U.S. lacrosse guidelines in the sense that it's really a personal choice, whether players feel comfortable and like they need to wear it or not. Ryan was asking, with the new rules and regulations, how will training differ going forward?
I guess I can field that. Ryan, it's a great question. This is something that we have to kind of figure out as we get there. I think the best way to address it is, I know Ken has a pretty good list of everyone that was officially trained. And so I think that it's going to be a lot of onus on those that are officially trained to reread through the rules. I still have all of the notes that I took and have taken over the last couple of years. And I'm going to send that to Eric. So we should have a pretty good stash of everything that is updated, and it should just be, I'm going to use Clint's term of creating cheat sheets so that it's a quick read that should just be very brief for the current trained officials to read through. That should have enough information for you to be updated on the rules. I don't think there's going to be anything too drastic, but yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I was going to clarify, like, there aren't really any new playing rules on the table. It's really just like making sure people have the right chest protectors and helmets that are, being safe. So in terms of between the lines, I don't think we anticipate anything changing between last year and this year, or last year and next year.
Another thing with the face masks, I did a fair amount of officiating over the summer, and I did see quite a few teams, depending on where they were from, using them. Depending on where you were at, I primarily officiated in Wisconsin and in Indiana, and there wasn't too many issues with them fogging up. But then again, it realistically just depends on the weather and the climate where you're playing.
Makes sense. And I will just jump ahead a notch on the agenda because it kind of ties into your question about officials. We also applied for a Bill Belichick Foundation grant this year. That was for $10,000 specifically for like creating coach development and officials development resources for wheelchair lacrosse. So they told us we'd find out in the fall. I'm hounding them. We still haven't heard anything back yet. I think Bill's pretty busy right now. But hopefully that comes through and we can develop some more, some more resources for officials because we know it's a priority. Ryan and Bill, do you guys have want to give any updates on other tournaments that are in the works?
Yeah, we were trying to do a spring tournament this year, and it didn't kind of work out, but we're definitely interested in doing another four-team tournament if we can get enough people. If we don't have 4 teams willing to travel, we'll just do some sort of a throw your sticks in kind of a tournament, because I think everybody's excited and interested in having some competition since we didn't get a chance to do it this year. It'll probably be, I think, February, March, something like that. San Diego again. It'll be our local rink as opposed to the Nationals tournament.
Yeah, we have access to 2 different facilities, one where we practice and play regularly in San Diego, and then the different site where the national tournament will be. The rink where we actually play is just a skosh smaller than, I guess, like what a regulation size rink would be, but it's still really good size, beautiful facility. And yeah, it would be one rink over a weekend in San Diego sometime in the spring, hopefully up to 4 teams. And then if not, we'll just get as many players that would be willing to travel and be interested in coming to San Diego in the springtime. And for the East Coast guys, hopefully maybe getting out of the snow and the weather for a long weekend in San Diego. That's kind of the idea, is to have like a West Coast kind of, season kickoff tournament, like a little event out there. We would anticipate it hopefully being March, April-ish, sometime, earlier on the spring side. Hopefully the weekend that we could get it, there would be no conflicts with any other events, and just try and, get 3 or 4 teams out to have a good weekend of some lacrosse. And, to Bill's point, I think there's a lot of anxious people out there, hopefully, ready to play. As far as the other tournaments go, I know Mike Looney in Baltimore and Dr. Lee in Milwaukee, for those of you that have played the Big Cheese Classic in Milwaukee. And then I think, Brian, maybe if you wanted to speak, all these dates for these different tournaments: the Big Cheese in Milwaukee, which is usually in June, our West Coast Invitational, which is hopefully going to be in the spring. Then we'd like to do an East Coast event, and then another Midwest event in Indianapolis, which if Brian or Dr. Lee want to speak to those, you could do that real quick.
Yeah, most of you guys know that Ken has been putting on the Big Cheese Classic for several years now. It's been a great event, and I am now to a point here in Indianapolis where I have a full rink, just one. I don't have two, but just one available. So it could be one of those, once I reach 6, we'll reach out to every team. Once we get 6 signed up, kind of call it, and then have a tournament. Since Ken normally runs it late June, we were looking at possibly July, maybe late July, or we might back it up and do it in like mid to late May. At this point, I just, obviously, COVID has thrown everything into a complete craziness for us. So I was hoping to do it this year in July before everything got started. So I'm hoping to get it started again. So Ken, if you have anything to add about yours, but that's kind of where we are with the possibility of ours.
Sure. The WLUSA is planning to host Big Cheese Classic in end of June. Usually it's the third weekend of June or the last weekend. But as the dates come close, we'll keep working with Brian so we don't overlap each other, and we give each other enough room so the teams can travel and compete. So that will be nice. Whether it's an open invitation or restricted, I don't know. It's actually better to have it open and have a lot of teams come over and play. In terms of whether we're actually going to have it with this COVID, if the trend, the little mini surges that we have right now, and then if the surges come up during the flu season and go down, and this follows any other virus, then there's good chance that we can have a lot of activities during the summer months and more open activities. So let's keep praying for that. In terms of the other tournaments, that's early on, it'll be iffy, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that we can go to San Diego in the beginning of the season. That will be a great kickoff and a great way to start every season, actually. Back to you.
And this is Mike Looney with the Maryland Thunder. So in the past, we've used the Ocean City Classic for tournaments, wheelchair lacrosse tournaments. We used it in 2019 for the East Coast Conference Championships. So we have that potential option for next summer, but we'll be working with the teams on the East Coast to put together an invitational tournament for the Eastern Conference Championships. And typically we've done those at the end of, the Ocean City Class is usually the first week in August. So we would be looking more at the end of July, beginning of August for the tournament.
Great. Okay. So the other thing on the agenda, well, Sean mentioned the Bill Belichick Foundation grant, which is, fingers crossed. We'll keep everyone, all the teams posted on the result of that. The other thing on the agenda here was an event that we have currently planned with Move United. Move United is the new name for DSUSA, Disabled Sports USA. So DSUSA has become now Move United, which they've approached us about doing a kind of a train the trainer event. There is a host location in New Hampshire out of the UNH, out of University of New Hampshire, that is willing to host this event with Move United to bring players and a handful of players, but mostly coaches, other trainers in from different locations to give them a weekend in education of wheelchair lacrosse, the rules, the equipment, the grant for the event would cover equipment for the different participants. And the goal would be for them to come do the certification. They would receive a certificate that they've completed this event, and then they would go back to their respective locations in the hopes of then starting their own programs. We do have the opportunity to do 2 of these. The first one, as I mentioned, will be in New Hampshire. The second one, I believe we're looking at perhaps Florida as a target for that, due to just the really dense athlete population that exists there in Florida. And I think we have some good relationships in that area that would help kind of champion the effort and kind of get it off the ground. So those are some of the things that are happening with Move United. And lastly, a lot of the teams in the past have participated in events with their local Shootout for Soldiers event. And that's something that we would encourage the teams to get involved in again, if they do in fact have a Shootout for Soldier event. Mike Nelson, I know you and Severio are really involved in that event out there in Long Island. We've done it here in SoCal the last couple years. And wherever I think there's an opportunity for that, I actually forget. Mike, you guys have an opportunity for Shootout there in Baltimore as well. I believe you do, yeah. So we would encourage the programs to use that as an opportunity for throw around, a tune-up. It's a good way to get some exposure and create some awareness for what we're doing. So I think that's about it for us. I'm going to pass it off to Mike Looney that will kind of have a discussion here about what we're doing to increase player retention and grow the game.
All right. Thank you, Brian. So we wanted to kind of open this up now, kind of an open forum, to give you the opportunity to ask some questions and give us feedback in terms of trying to grow the game. So we are taking notes. We are, recording the session so we can use some of these ideas to help us again grow the game. I do have some initial questions that I'm going to just kind of throw out there to get some feedback, and feel free, if you do have a question, as Sean said earlier, you can type it into the chat. You can also raise your hand, and then I can call on you from there. So if you have the chat and the participant panel open, you'll see there's a little icon that says raise hand. So if you want to be able to do that, if you do have a question. But for right now, what I kind of want to, the additional question we're looking at is how many, what is everyone doing right now? What are you able to do? Are you practicing? Are you kind of working out on your own? So does anyone want to kind of provide feedback in terms of what it is that you've all been doing? It might be easier if we just use for some of these questions. So how many people have been practicing? You can actually at the bottom where it says reactions, click on that and give me a thumbs up. So how many people have actually been practicing as a team? If you want to just give a thumbs up. We got one. Looks like a couple. So we got 4. Okay. 5. I think I counted up to, I think I got up to 6 with the counting. Okay. So we got some, 6. I know it's been difficult for some teams. I know for us here in Maryland and being affiliated with a hospital rehab center, they weren't keen on us getting together. Also with the facility that we usually practice at, they had some strict regulations for the county they were in. So we weren't able to use the facility. For the team leaders, the team managers, what is it you're doing to keep your players engaged? Does anyone have any fun things that they've been doing to keep them engaged? Is it just sending out emails? Is it text chains? Are you posting on social media? What is it that you're all doing?
Shamefully for Eagles, we've done nothing. Big hiatus. But Wisconsin Adaptive Sports Association that we belong to, they've been actually sending out little bits and pieces of home exercises, group exercises, online exercises.
Okay.
Yeah, and Ken, we're in the same boat. our wonderful sports and recreation direct team has created that same concept of building exercise programs for our athletes. But we as a team similarly have not been able to participate and really do anything. So you're not alone.
Yeah. Mike from Long Island said that they've done emails to the group. Yeah, for myself, I've done some emails to the team. But yeah, we've kind of really haven't been able to do anything for the Maryland Thunder. Anyone else have anything that their team has done or ways that they've kept engaged?
Mike, we had a unique situation here in Indy where there was actually a young man who was a lacrosse player for high school that was injured. And they held a lacrosse tournament to raise money for his family to kind of help with expenses, things like that. We were invited out, and they had tennis courts. So it wasn't obviously full length that we've done, but brought my team over. So not only exposed wheelchair lacrosse to more members of the lacrosse community here in Indianapolis, but also showed this young man that he'd be able to continue on playing lacrosse. So those types of things that are out there. So getting connected with U.S. lacrosse and the lacrosse community. So if there are team managers, team captains, actually anybody who's on this call, there's several people that are with U.S. lacrosse that are on this call. Sean Maloney, obviously on our board, Bryce Woodson. And there are people that you can reach out to connect with the lacrosse community, which would be a very advantageous. I recommend doing that. I did that a lot, several years ago, and it's been a great. Bryce and I connected several years ago. So there's regional managers. Sean's in Mountain Region, for example. Reach out to them, get connected. Because the more that you do, you're going to find you're going to be able to really get a lot of support. So that so definitely try to do that if you can.
So Forest Lodge from Sportable posted says they haven't done anything in person, but they had weekly meetings through Zoom to get-togethers, talk about wheelchair lacrosse strategy. They were able to use Lacrosse Lab with the screen share feature, and Sportable has returned multiple other sports to play with COVID safety guidelines to keep everyone safe. They've also been using the SportsU mobile app for team communication. Forrest, if you want, can you elaborate a little bit more on the Lacrosse Lab, what you were doing with that?
Hey guys, sorry, this is friends right now watching the NBA finals, but
sorry.
Yeah, thank you for having me. No worries at all. So what we've used for Lacrosse Labs is essentially it gives you an opportunity to identify a defense and an offense and click and drag the players that are your icons to like different formations for the sport. But you can also like essentially record a particular play and then have it go somewhat in like slow motion. So you hit play and you can actually like have those icons that you have for your different, offensive and defensive players, play throughout like an entire, sequence that you might come up with some of your traditional sequences in the sport that you might see traditionally in wheelchair lacrosse. So that was a cool way for us to kind of actually like, do some strategy work that we may not necessarily get to do at our weekly practices when we're able to be in person. So it was a cool silver lining thing in terms of like the technology knowledge that we've gotten growth on throughout this entire COVID process.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Ryan Baker from San Diego says uses TeamSnap for team communications and practice schedule. And Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have been practicing, correct?
I think I'm actually out of the state right now, but I believe some of the guys just started practicing within the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
We got together last night. That was the first time we've done anything.
Yeah, and I don't even know what were the number?
6.
6?
We had 6 last night.
Yeah.
Cool. So kind of moving on a little bit, what are some things that you think that we aren't doing as an organization, or what are we missing, and things that we need to start working on? So this is going to give you guys the opportunity to kind of start helping us brainstorm. You know, I've been with wheelchair lacrosse for a long time, and I've seen it grow, and I want to continue to see it grow. But in order for us to do that, we need to really hear from, the players, from the teams, to help us better understand what are some ways that we can continue to grow. What is it that you think we should be, that we're currently not doing, that we should be starting to look at and start doing? So you can put information in the chat. If you want to raise your hand, or even just unmute your mic and speak, feel free. We're all a quiet bunch.
Yeah, don't be shy, unless you guys think we're perfect.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is us. Organizations are strong as all its members, so we got to kind of feed into everything that you all think. At some point you may be in these positions that we're in. You're gonna have to rely on the members. So, are there ways we can help you? What are some things we can do to help you? Not only just as a team, as a player.
I'll ask a question and then answer it too at the same time, because I think some people may have this in their mind. We all have these orange balls from the past, and then we're switching over to the pearl, especially for the tournament. So a question may come out: what should we do with the orange balls? Should we get rid of them? What I did was I took the pearl and the orange one and kind of dropped it at the same height several times, and they actually bounced the same. So I wouldn't throw away those orange balls, guys. Use them. If you lose them eventually, then no big deal. But just keep in mind, though, the tournament will be the pearl ball. But we don't plan on throwing away our orange balls, just so you know.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. I know we've talked in board meetings about putting together videos for, to help everyone, to help individuals understand the game better, to use it also for rule explanations. What is a moving pick? What's a screen? Things like that. I mean, do you think instructional videos like this would be beneficial to you as a player or to people that aren't playing? I mean, do you think that's a good idea? While you're pondering on that, I did have Paul put some questions in the chat. What about assessing why some of the organizations stopped or quit, and see how we can keep that from reoccurring? Chicago rings a bell. There's so many, VAs in a large population. That is something that is, as a board, we have discussed. I know that, again, I've been here with the league for some time now. And I know there are other teams, besides Chicago, where we've done clinics. We've had, some turnout from those teams. So that's definitely something, we want to look at. And I agree with that. And I think something that we're going to need help from organizations are, what are you doing to keep your players active? What are some of the tricks or some of the things that you've done to just keep players coming back? Because I know that that's a difficult thing. Is you got to try and figure out ways to get players to keep coming back in order to maintain the team.
I think Norm has his hand raised. Mike.
Go ahead, Norm.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to, I know one of the things that we're working on here, and just to give other folks some ideas, obviously we're disappointed with COVID, but a couple of things that we are working on and we'll have in the spring, as long as COVID is out of our way, is youth program. And I really think that's important. I mean, adult programs are great, but sometimes life gets in the way. And through years of experience with other programs, the youth is an important part. So I'd encourage everybody to start looking at youth and trying to start with, get some youth involved and get that youth program going.
Yeah, we're in Atlanta. We're planning to have a clinic for some youth players next week. Zach, do you have any more information about that you could share with us? But we're targeting some youth players.
Yeah, so in Atlanta, I know Sean, Eric, Brian, and Lou and I have been reaching out to Blaze Sports. And next Sunday, we will be having a clinic for a couple hours to really introduce wheelchair lacrosse to those young players.
And I just want to chime in. One of the big discussions we've had, it's come up pretty regularly at our annual board meeting at LaxCon, is how to appropriately engage the youth in the game. One of the major things that we've run into with youth, at least at my facility, is, and as we all know, this is a violent game that we're playing, and a lot of people, parents, struggle with that concept for a child who might be living with any variety of disability. And we are working to establish a set of rules that differs, whether that be a shorter court, less people, to really engage the game in a different way. So I think Zach, as somebody that's leading that, making sure that those parents are aware that we are actively working on that, to really encourage that, those parents to keep engaged in the sport, I guess, is where I'll go with it.
Yeah, I think having a partner like Blaze Sports, I mean, that's something, to Paul's earlier question, I think we've all identified as having like a good adaptive sport partner when you're trying to start a new program, especially, is, can be really helpful. Just because they have chairs, sometimes they have equipment, they have a pool of athletes who they've already built some trust with. So I don't want to speak for the whole board, but I know that we have had some discussions about, what's an ideal situation, right? We need always that champion, that individual person who's going to kind of take the reins, right? There's no substitute for that. But it's also helpful to have that relationship to a hospital or, Sportable or any one of these groups that's already got some trust in the community.
So Zachary, you also said about, more advertisement and knowledge to the youth, being at tournaments at Indy, seeing if teams can go to, able-bodied tournaments. I'm assuming that's what you're referencing, able-bodied tournaments, promoting, wheelchair lacrosse. Yeah, I think that's a great thing. I mean, I know in a lot of the different states, COVID times excluded, there's a lot of tournaments where we could go and look to set up a booth and just do promotion. I know here in Maryland, we've done at the Bayhawks Major League Lacrosse games during the summer, we've had a booth in their tailgate just promoting wheelchair lacrosse and getting people to be aware of it. And we've tried to also work with other local tournaments and just do exhibition games as well. So yeah, that's definitely a great way to kind of help us grow the game, because you may find that there's someone there that has a family member or a friend that has a disability that might be able to play. And then Paul had had a comment about adapting the youth rules of no contact. Maybe we have to look at that. Maybe we develop some type of rules, for the youth, similar to what they do in wheelchair basketball for the younger ages, where they do an 8-foot hoop, things like that. Maybe we have to look at adapting that. That's a good idea. Maybe we can look at that and have discussions about that. So, anyone have any other thoughts? I mean, other ways that we can help, growing the game, promoting anything, any other ideas or thoughts, things you want to see us doing more of?
Mike, something that Milwaukee had done, and this was something that happened the first year I got involved with wheelchair lacrosse was Dr. Lee had ended up hosting a partially able-bodied tournament prior to the Big Cheese, where we had some high school kids actually get in chairs and play wheelchair lacrosse either against other high schools or one of the teams, because we had some people come a day early, and we also had another person from US Lacrosse also be there. And that's kind of how both my brother and I actually ended up getting involved initially, was something like that.
It's a good idea. I actually kind of like the idea of hosting, as you said, two teams, able-bodied teams, put them in chairs, doing that as an exhibition and then playing, a wheelchair lacrosse game after that. It'll help definitely promote, and you find you're going to have a lot of people that'll stay and, check out the game. So, yeah, and you get that
Do a little
promotion.
something like that. Sorry, Mike.
No,
We did a little something like that in San Diego. We had something like 3 or 4 high school teams that we watched the games, we've known some of the coaches, and we did a little fundraiser. Didn't make it too huge. It was the first time we'd done anything like that, but the kids were insane. They got really competitive, and it was really fun to watch the progression from the first time they played to the second or third. And then we would go and mix it up in between those games and beat the crap out of them, and then they realize how the game can be played, and then the other two teams could get together. So it's a great idea. It's fun. It's hard when the high school teams, when the coaches change and the kids kind of cycle through, but being able to continue doing that, it's a blast.
Cool.
Actually, you know what? If there are teams that are forming, WLUSA's, we're going to get rid of some of our older chairs. They are older, but we're willing to give it away. We are actually going to junk it if no one takes it. And they're still useful, but we did get some grants, so we bought some new chairs. So we're willing to give it out. So please contact me before I get rid of them.
I would say maybe if any of the existing programs are in need, they should probably have first right of refusal for something like that. But next might be using our social channels to maybe put something out that we have equipment available for a program that might be interested in starting, or an organization that might be willing to start a program and see if they, could build a team from that. But just someone that might be willing to take it on if they knew they were getting a portion of the equipment, kind of just to get them started, right?
Right, because if you want to put on something with an able-body exhibition game, you need chairs, because those guys are not coming with chairs. So please contact me, and we'll put together whatever we have and figure out how to get it to you.
That's awesome, Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Dr. Lee.
I was just going to say, to Ryan's point, I think it's really spot on that, we have to remember that we're still trying to grow awareness of the sport within the disability and adaptive sport community, but also within the lacrosse community. So there's kind of 2 different audiences. And so just making sure that you're getting in front of both audiences is going to maximize your, potential to recruit.
Yep. Anyone else have anything? Anything to add? Any thoughts?
I wonder if maybe we ought to put a note on the website if Dr. Lee has some chairs available. Maybe we ought to put that up so somebody other than the people here on this call would know that. I'd hate to have them just junk the chairs if they're still usable.
Let's do that.
Yeah, we can work on it. We'll get it on social media and spread the word.
Some ideas we've thrown around as a board of what we want to kind of do moving forward. We've talked about, putting out, potentially doing a newsletter, getting information out, doing, as I said, videos. So there's a lot of different things that we're trying to do. Also, Norm's been doing some great work in growing teams up in, the northern New York area, Ohio. So we are trying to work to kind of grow into different areas, doing different types of clinics. So as a board, we're going to work to even get more information out to you all. We're also looking at doing more of these town halls, whether we're doing it for players, doing it for potential, teams, rehab centers, even looking at doing, these type of calls too with vendors, so that we can, potentially have sponsors, whether it's lacrosse equipment, other sponsors. So those are some different things that we've talked about, that we're going to hopefully start looking into being able to do. But ultimately the goal of all of it is to grow the game of wheelchair lacrosse, so that when we have our next tournament, we have 15 teams, maybe 20 teams. We also have, a lot of local regional teams, regional tournaments, so that, we're not just trying to figure out how teams are going to play because there's no one within a reasonable driving distance. So we are trying to work on, building around hubs of areas where we can have teams close, in close proximity. So Paul, reach out to universities who may have a population of disabled people. University of Whitewater, they have a big wheelchair basketball program. That's always good as well. You've got a lot of the schools that have adaptive athletics programs or adaptive intramural programs. You can start looking into those type of schools as well. Yeah, we can definitely do that, reaching out to them. Anyone have anything else that they want to share? Okay.
I think it's dinner time.
Well, with that, I will turn it back over to, am I turning it over to Brian to close us out, or Ryan to close us out?
Go ahead, Galloway.
Okay. Thanks everybody for joining us on the very first, the inaugural Wheelchair Lacrosse USA Town Hall. As Mike mentioned, we do plan on having these to move forward, possibly, maybe beginning of the season, kind of getting things started. So we'll definitely be in touch using social media as getting that out, things like that. So thanks again. And Kenley, enjoy your dinner there, as I just got the hand in front of you. So thanks again, everybody. I hope you have a great evening, and we'll be in touch very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you for dialing in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike Looney.
Really excited looking forward to seeing everyone soon.